So those of you who've been coming to the streams a lot lately will know about the existence of this, but big news, it's just opened up and I want to give everyone the full details. There is a new branch of the guild that's just opened as far as in-game stuff is concerned, and I'm pretty excited about it. It should be very cool and an interesting way to explore the new expansion. The number of invite requests I've had at the moment is probably the highest I've ever had, and especially for the amount of people I've invited into the guild. Out of that, it's incredibly low because we've just been that full on members. So I wanted to give you guys some information about the full project, what's been going on, and what better way to do that than handy old Google Docs, which is where we do a lot of our sort of documentation and information delivery these days. We make like little flyers on Google Docs a lot. So let's do it. I want to tell you guys about the new in-game branch of Spud, which is called the Spud Club 2. So that name is a pun. It's not the best, but it was like a random one that I invented a while ago. We did a big straw poll for it over, what was it, 3 streams, 4 streams? Maybe actually, was it 2 weekends worth of streams? And this one came out on top, so that's handy for me at least. It means I didn't need to rename what I'd already built. The Spud Club 2 is the new branch, and so I want to tell you guys just how this will all work, because we can get 500 new players in, and we want to do this correctly. So here's what I wrote out. I'll read it verbatim, as we did on some of the more recent events, and let's jump into it. So, welcome to the details page for our brand spanking new branch of the Spud community, the Spud Club 2. Here I am hoping to quickly divulge all information about this community and project to get us all on the same page. If you're looking to join, then you have come to the right place. So what is this? Here we got some concept art from I think this is supposed to be the Temple of Cormyr actually in the first map, but it makes me think of Vabi, so hell, we'll do it that way. So what is this? Broadly speaking, the Spud Club is an umbrella term that I use to describe the greater Wooden Potatoes community. That means anyone who actively comments on videos, anyone arriving at streams and using chats in particular, joining for events, posting on the Wooden Potatoes subreddit, or engaging on a deeper level than silently watching, that kind of person is sort of deemed, in my mind, as a member of the club, right? So the main center of Spud Club activity, chat, discussion and stuff is on the Discord that we run, the Spud Club Discord. It's open for anyone to get in, by the way. You don't have to be a Guild Wars 2 player. You don't have to be in any kind of in-game guild or anything. You can just join that Discord and you're sort of a member of the Spud Club. So it's an umbrella term for everything. In the Discord, we don't just have discussion about Guild Wars 2 stuff, like updates that have come in, screenshots. We have a channel where we take screenshots and show them to one another, raiding and all of that. But we also talk about everything Wooden Potatoes. We discuss any kind of video I make. We discuss other games that I've played or taken an interest in, and a lot more, right? So that's the Spud Club in general. Beyond the general Spud Club, we also have various clans, teams, and guilds in the games that we have played together. And that's a small list right now, but growing. So Elder Scrolls Online, I think we've got a branch. MXM, we definitely did. And of course, Guild Wars 2, right? So it's never been a requirement to be a part of one of those in-game communities to call yourself a Spud. But being in them does offer obvious added social opportunities and perks for the game that we're talking about. So we're talking about Guild Wars 2. So far in Guild Wars 2, we have had a single in-game guild that is capped at a tight 500 members. It has been generally fully for the past 2 years, 2.5 even. It's named for the broader community, the Spud Club. In fact, it was named first, but that name sort of means everything now, right? It's a guild that's probably in the top 5 decoration storages in the entire game. It has a fully equipped guild hall, it's max level, and it's had many long-standing faces, and it's got a history of its own, it's well established. That is the in-game Spud Club branch. But as Path of Fire is releasing, there are 2 new things happening. Number 1, I'm getting an enormous amount of requests to join the in-game branch, even though it's full. And number 2, the developers are adding a new guild hall to the game. It's set in Vabi, and it's a guild hall that many of us would love to have the experience of building up, like we did with the Heart of Thorns halls. But we kind of don't have that opportunity easily, because if we swap to the Vabian Hall, it will be instantly maxed out. What about getting that NPC dialogue and stuff? So those are 2 things that are happening. In light of those, a new plan has been born. And that plan is to open another branch of the in-game Spud Club Guild. So we polled for it, we named it the Spud Club 2, and the primary purpose of it is twofold. Number one is to provide a bustling, active, and fun place for all the many hundreds of new players that are currently looking for a community to call their own, but cannot fit in the 500 user limit of the initial branch. It's for that, and believe me, I'll be pretty mad if when this expansion comes out, it turns out the member cap on guilds is raised with Path of Fire. They just didn't talk about it. That would suck. But so it's to give space to all these new people, and there are a lot of you. And also, number two, it's actually to provide us with an opportunity to build that new Vabian Hall up from the ground, which otherwise we wouldn't be able to do. And in this way, we can hear the new NPC dialogue. We can rally around the buildings as they're constructed in real time before our eyes. And being able to do that is something most Guild Wars 2 players never properly experience. So, with all of that, that's the plan, right? So, you're now wondering how exactly does it work? So starting from now, at the release of this video, and through the release of Path of Fire and beyond, players will be able to join that new branch. You now can, so if you're watching this video, you can do it if you want. Once you're in, there isn't necessarily any obligation that players who join should contribute to the construction of the new hall by providing supplies or attending missions and stuff. There'll be no obligation that you do it, but because it is one of the primary objectives, it's going to be encouraged. It's going to be requested, and the people who slack are more likely to get kicked if they become inactive than people who, you know, put a lot of work in. Okay, so that is one of the main things, and please, if you're thinking of joining the guild, do have that on your mind. Members of the Spud Club 2 branch, you'll enjoy all the perks and all the experiences of those that are in the initial branch that already existed before now. The ranks of the new branch are structured the exact same. So if you're on Patreon, you can claim a special rank in the Spud Club 2, just like you'd be able to claim a special rank in the initial Spud Club as well. The events and the prizes that we give away as a part of the community will be the same for the people in the new branch. It will all be shared. The Games Masters will be the same. Access to the Discord will be the same. There is no better guild. I feel very strongly that this should be the case, right? There is no better guild or other distinction between the two branches right now. That's not the idea. The goal is just to create a space that is as active and filled with keen players right at the moment of Path of Fire's release and take advantage of all of this desire that's out there. That said, there are two distinctions between the two branches, and let's be clear about them. First of all, the new branch will not start out with anything remotely close to such a rich and deep selection of decorations. Nor may it ever reach such heights as the initial branch. The initial branch is crazy for decorations, and the new one won't have those. There's no way we can share them, okay? So if decorating is your thing, and if I've learned anything over Heart of Thorns, it's that very few people really care about decorating. But if decorating is your thing, the initial branch is probably the one you want to be in. It's not like the initial one's dead or anything, right? So that's probably the one for you. However, an upside to the new branch, what the new branch will have that the initial one won't, is activity, okay? The initial branch is certainly very active. It will continue to be, and I don't mean to disparage it in any way, but it's also currently host to a lot of players that joined ages ago, and now they're not very active. Everyone who's in that branch is active to some extent, but a lot of them only play a little bit, right? The Path of Fire branch, by contrast, is going to be made entirely of fresh people who want to play a lot right here, right now. And that's an experience we had when Heart of Thorns came out with the initial branch, and if that's anything to go by, it means that for a very active chat, it means for a very fast-paced community, like the height you will ever see in Guild Wars 2, really. And you get to have that in tandem with all these new experiences and everyone excitedly typing to one another as we go. So if you're anticipating on playing a lot of hours of Path of Fire, but you don't have an established community or friends or anything right now, then this is definitely the branch for you. That's the one I would go for instead. Now, eventually, I do believe that the rough activity levels of both branches is going to equalize. I view it as an inevitability that crazy early rush will stable out eventually. And I also believe that a reasonable stock of decorations will end up coming into the new branch as well. And at that point, there really won't be a big distinction between the two branches. I hope so anyway. We will simply be one large community that is connected via a common Discord, Reddit, officership, and a YouTube/Twitch scene, and that is the way that it will work. So that's kind of the plan for the guild right now. So if you like the sound of all of this, if this will make sense to you, you're wondering how to enter. So I've written this. If you're keen on joining the new branch, I'd recommend you check out our main document for joining the guild scene here, and I'll click that for you all here. This is an older document, and this gives you all the information on how to join. I've updated this and rewritten it to establish the fact there are 2 branches now, but we won't go into that on this video. Everything from activity requirements to acceptance for the new branch will be exactly the same as the old one. So you need to only specify now which community you'd like to join. So that whole thing about the pay to win and all of those things, that still all exists as a part of our community, and that will exist for the new branch as well. And especially it will exist for the new branch because it will help us pay for the new hall, frankly. If you're an existing member already of the main branch of Spud, but you also want to be in the new hall and help build up in Vabby, then for now that is also perfectly okay. We are allowing double membership. You can be in both if you want. I do encourage, though, if you are an established community member who wants to be in the new branch, can you at least think about being in just one and leaving one of the guilds, as that space I'd much rather use for a fresh player, a new person who wants to join. There absolutely will come a day, and it could be very fast approaching, I don't know, there will come a day where double membership won't be available anymore. So keep your eye out and make sure that you're in the branch you really want to be at that point when that comes. But for now, if you want to be a double member, you can. Lastly, and not leastly, I would like to stress that the initial branch is still awesome and is active and is worthwhile and it's not going anywhere. The only problem with the initial branch is that it's quite often at 500 out of 500 members. So if you're interested in joining Spud, but you don't really care about Path of Fire, maybe you've got the friends in initial branch or something, that will still be there. You will still be able to join that. It's just you have to wait for inactive players to steadily leave and space to open up. While the Path of Fire one is, you know, it's free reign right now. There's a 500 slots. And so that's most of it. At the end, I kind of want to talk about the future a little bit as well. So I end the document here. What about the future? And I've just written this, that building a guild hall takes anywhere from 6 to 9 months, depending on how dedicated we are. And that's really what this is all about. So for 6 to 9 months, this is what's going to be happening, right? But at that point, once it has been built and our primary ambition has been satisfied, at that point, the Games Masters and I are going to have some meetings and we'll take a look at the current state of things at that point, and we'll get a feel for what the community wants and how things might work. So as you know, you might know, a current problem for our guild right now, and especially through Heart of Thorns, is the North America Euro split. So we invite players from anywhere and everywhere. You can be any region, you can join our guild. And that's fine and that's open and free and nice, but because people can't visit other territories, we essentially have had half of the guild NA, half the guild EU, and only had a 250 players to work with for any event we want to do. And that's max. And then that gets cut down by half again because of time zones, and that gets cut down again because of inactive people and blah, blah, blah. And it ends up as a much smaller number than it could be. So it might be an interesting idea in the future down the line to dedicate each of these 2 branches wholly to a region. So we have an NA branch and an EU branch, and deciding who gets what, we can do a competition, or we can poll, we can do fun methods to decide which region gets which branch. But in the meantime, before all that happens, there's lots of discussions there. Before that happens, it's really not on our minds. That's not the point of the guild. Right now, just view the guild as, hey, do you want lots of friends around the Path of Fire release? Do you think it'd be worthwhile to spend some money on a new hall and experience building that up? If so, then you know, you get your value out of that right then and there. The whole EU-NA split is a potential distant perk in the future and nothing more. So that's something I'd like everyone to be aware of as a member, as it could mean reshuffling who you are and where you are in the future, but it's not important enough to dwell on right now. We do have other ideas as well, like maybe making one branch a sort of staging ground for the other. If our membership drops, we could maybe even make a 3rd branch as our numbers keep going, or we could just carry on as normal. I don't know. That's all for way off. And there you go, guys. So that's the Spud Club 2. That's quick, skinny. That's the purpose of it. That's the point of it. It should be lots of fun. I hope you guys will enjoy yourselves. Links in the description if you want to enjoy that. And obviously more details and invites and fun stuff like that coming up on Twitch. We've got about 2 weeks till Path of Fire releases, so we'll get everyone in. And then on release day, we should have, you know, I can't wait to see like 450 out of 500 members online right as the expansion drops. How crazy cool will that be? Let's try and make it. So cheers, guys. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.